Welcome back to Nazareth Podcast, the Catholic parenting podcast hosted by the Catholic Schools, Brooklyn and Queens. I'm your host, Sophia, and today we are here with someone I get to work with every day, Ted Havelka. Ted, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Sophia. Thank you. Thanks for having me on. This is it's been so much fun to watch the Nazareth Podcast come together, and true privilege to be here.
It's going to be awesome to have you on. This is going to be a really, really good episode. I really enjoy working with Ted every day because he really is full of, like, there's an inspirational quote or like a recentering, maybe a why every single day. And I find it really helpful, really inspirational. So I think there's going to be some really great practical insights for parents, but also hopefully if you're listening to this on your commute or you're running around the house, getting some chores done, you'll get some practicals, but you'll also get some life inspo. So it should be.
You're very kind. Thank you for saying so.
Okay.
You're very kind.
Absolutely. So for those of you who don't know, I work with Ted very closely. We both work with enrollment management. Could you share for listeners who are not familiar with you and maybe they see you, parents might see you on the staff page of the website, but they're like, who actually is this guy? Tell us a little bit more about what you do and how you support the schools.
Sure. You know, I have a reputation now. A priest saw me at an event recently and said, heard my name and said, I see your emails, you're the numbers guy. And it's like, okay, fine. Yeah, I do that every Friday. I publish a report, analytics of where the school's office is going in terms of, or where the schools are in terms of enrollment. And that's the core mission, is to help enrollment increase. The work that we did recently on a strategic plan for our department is to help more families have an encounter with Jesus through the schools and through their children and their attendance at the schools. You alluded to the why question. I love the why question. I think we'll talk a lot about that today. Sure, I run the numbers. We together help with the storytelling and your role as storyteller. But the why is important. We're here to help more families come to schools and experience all that the schools have to offer and the things we'll talk about today.
Incredible, amazing. Well, let's jump into it. As you know, we start all our episodes with a grace and a grapple. Do you have yours ready? Are you ready to share?
I do, but you should go first.
Okay, sounds good. I'll start with the grapple so we end on a positive note. And I mentioned this before, but I think my grapple might win. So for those who are listening, we are in the middle of a big heat wave right now, and my AC unit has not arrived yet. So I have been in my pre-war apartment taking cold showers with the fan like blasting in my face. So now over the past couple of days on all our meetings, I've had like my fan pointed straight at me as
I wasn't going to say anything. I thought it was like an aesthetic with the hair blowing, like a Taylor Swift concert with the hair blowing.
It was
now I get it.
Purely for survival needs.
Very good. Yeah. That's a grapple. I'm sorry for you.
I've lived with I've done no AC before when I lived in Chicago, but it's totally different in New York. Different beast.
And how about the grace?
Yeah, the grace. I think again this kind of connects with a New York City summer. I have gotten really into. I'm a huge froyo fan, and New York was kind of like a hopping froyo scene. So I've been getting really into. I basically tried different fronyos in Manhattan and rate them.
Is there a matcha fronyo someplace? I'm sure.
Oh, totally. I'm sure. I haven't tried it yet. Right now, number one on my list is the Butterfield Market froyo.
Okay.
All right.
Noted.
Yeah.
Drop it in. I'll go.
All right. It's your turn.
So grace. The grace for me this week in particular, today's Wednesday that we're meeting today, this is the grace. Being on this podcast, being invited to have some fun, have some laughs with you. I don't know that the week couldn't get any better than this.
Oh
So
my
thank
gosh,
you. Thank
I'm
you.
honored.
Best meeting of the day.
Wow.
Of the week.
Amazing.
For the grapple, I thought about this. There's a lot of heavy stuff going on in the world, but the grapple, the real serious issue that I think we have to talk about today is when a streaming TV service releases a TV show one episode at a time. I mean, come on, people. Come on. If I'm an adult, I'm over 18, I'm over 12, I'm a little bit over 21. If I want to binge the full season of Your Friends and Neighbors, John Hamm, Amanda Peet, Olivia Wilde, I mean, great cast. If I want to watch the full season in one weekend, I should be allowed to do that. They're giving them one episode. What is this, The Sopranos era?
I actually think that's a very Catholic take. We have free will. We should have free will to binge a whole season in one weekend if we want to.
And I'm talking to you, Apple TV. All right, Tim Cook, while you're still there, I'm talking about Apple TV. It's called streaming. It's not called dribs and drabs. It's not called dribbling. It's called streaming. Give me a stream of shows and I can watch the whole thing.
Steady stream of
That's
the
my
season.
grapple right now.
I agree. I'm with you on that.
Wait on Netflix. My guy Ted Sarandos. Gives it to us all at once.
Noted, for sure. Okay, well, since we started on such a serious note, I think that we should dive into some heavier hitting topics. I really want to start this episode just by allowing listeners to learn a little bit more about you and your path in Catholic education, kind of what drew you to working here, what's kind of the journey been like, and just what has it been like working for the diocese?
Yeah. Well, let's talk about my path in education because it's unique and not unique. I was, as a child, I was in and out of Catholic schools twice. And anybody who knows me would think, well, he got dismissed from Catholic schools. And not 100% correct in that part. My family moved a little bit. So every time we moved, I started in Catholic school. By grade 3 or 4, we moved upstate, went to public school. And I remember then, later on, I remember in public school, it's like I was doing fine, pretty good grades. I think good grades, relative scale for me, but pretty good grades, not struggling academically. And then we moved across the country and we entered Catholic school as a freshman in high school out in the West. And it was hard. It was much harder. We had, I think you would call it today classical. I studied Latin with a sister. It was much harder. I went to a Latin competition where we went off-site, sleepaway camp. We had to compete in Latin. And it was much harder. And so that was my experience, in and out due to family moves. And what I know now is that by intent, the Catholic school was harder. It was more challenging. It required to have higher expectations of the student and the family. And that's not a bad thing. It's intentional. It's a good thing. So that was my Catholic school experience as a student, in and out, and was well prepared for my years in public school and had to work really hard in Catholic school. And I think families understand that today as well. Expectations are elevated. Working for Catholic schools, there was a point in my life, it was 7 years ago this May, we're meeting here in mid-May, and 7 years ago, I accepted this position, and I had always been in education, but other types of education, so it was totally unique for me, and it's been an awesome learning experience. What I've learned being part of the Brooklyn and Queens community, being part of the Catholic community, is that families love their Catholic school. I mean, this is more than a commodity. This is more than a school and choosing where I go to school. This is part of who they are and what they believe in. And the schools make a difference in the communities. And we both know that in Brooklyn and Queens in particular, each community is different. You walk blocks, you're in a different world. And that's very cool. New York City is everything to everybody. That's cool.
I'm biased, but I really do think this has to be the best diocese to work for. I mean, it's just the coolest. I don't know, I guess maybe working in Vatican City, sure. That would be very, very cool.
You'd have to trade the Frugno for gelato, but that's
make that trade for sure. But you're right, the diocese here is very special.
It's a cool place.
So, Going a little deeper into something specifically that our team and you have really been championing and working on this past year, the federal tax credit opportunity. Like you mentioned, these schools that serve our families in Brooklyn and Queens, it's not just school, it's community. It is, I think almost every single parent I speak to refers to it as a family. And we want as many people as possible to be able to afford that family and that community. For listeners who maybe have heard about this federal tax credit opportunity, they're intrigued by it, it's a little complicated, it's a lot of legal and political lingo. Fill us in, what do people need to know?
So the name says a lot, Federal Scholarship Tax Credit, right? Anytime somebody talks about tax credit, it's like snooze, right? It's like, it's not an exciting thing. However, this is an exciting opportunity for us in New York. And I want to focus in on the word scholarship tax credit because that's what it is. Let's start with what it isn't. Right? It's been described in the news as a voucher program or a grant, and that's not the case. There is no voucher, there's no grant. What this FSTC does is it's part of the federal tax code. Again, roll your eyes, unless your CPA is out there, it's not the most exciting thing. But what it does is it will allow, it's in the federal code right now, it will allow individuals, private people, to make a donation to an SGO, which is a scholarship granting organization, and that donation, they will receive a tax credit, a dollar for dollar credit on their taxes that they owe. In our world, our scholarship granting organization is called Futures in Education. FuturesInEducation.org is the website. And they provide millions of dollars to students, to families, to go to the school, the Catholic school of their choice. And in some levels, this is not this is consistent. We have tax credits for the American, I think it's called the American Opportunity Act, and the Lifelong Learners Credit, college tuition that's paid by families for their children, or courses that are paid to advance someone's career with all the requirements in the tax law. You get a tax credit for that. So all that's changed here all that's changed. It's a big new change to say that donations, private donations to a nonprofit eligible scholarship granting organization, Futures in Education, you now get that tax credit. The law allows $1,700 of that donation to be a tax credit. So that means if you owe taxes, and everybody has a tax liability, even if you get a refund, that means that there's been a withholding greater than your liability and you get the difference back. So everybody can now be a philanthropist. Everybody can now be a donor to these great causes that they believe in. And that's a real game changer. What it will do, what we hope it will do is unlock everybody who has more than $1,700 of tax liability, and that's most wage earners, can now donate that money and not pay their taxes. Instead, let it go to students through the scholarship programs, and it's eligible to all types of schools, and you have to be an approved scholarship granting organization to participate in that.
And this is something that state by state opts in, right?
Yeah. So that's what made news. This was a big news a year ago, and then it kind of quieted down. So the way the law works is that the state has to agree to participate in the program. It's a federal tax scholarship, but each state gets to opt in. We're very excited that Governor Hochul recently indicated that she is in favor of the program and intends to opt in. There's a process over the summer with rulemaking and the details being released. She said she's on board with this program, has kind of doubled down with the explanation of why it's good for the state. If a state didn't opt in, that means that, take New York, that means that New Yorkers could donate to a scholarship agency, get the tax credit, and the money would go to kids in other states. Nobody wants that.
Yeah.
So I'm very optimistic and very encouraged by her words. There's a process over the summer that then will, has to be finalized. But barring any surprises, beginning January 2027, people can start making these donations, and that will increase the scholarship bank, the scholarship pool. And those donations could go to Futures in Education, and more scholarships should be available for our students in 2027.
Incredible.
That's super exciting.
That's the best thing ever, right? So is there any moms or dads that are listening right now and they're thinking, this would be life-changing for me. This would be life-changing for my school's community. What can I, as a Catholic school parent, do to, push this forward?
Yeah. So what we did, and what you know firsthand, because you were part of the post there, was to fill out these voter action forms to tell the governor that this is important to working families in New York, that we want this, that it'll make a difference. Because she indicated she's in favor of it, we think we're okay right now. But keep an eye on the news, keep an eye on the posts from us, from Futures. There might be an opportunity here. There might be a need for us to remind the governor that this is still important to us. There's some technicalities in the rules still to come. Right now, I think we're pretty good. Keep paying attention to the news. And if we ask you to fill out this form, tell the governor this is important, that's important. The next level would be anybody listening in January 2027, talk to your CPA, talk to your accountant. You would be able to find out whether you'll be eligible for it. I think almost everyone will be eligible to write that check to a scholarship agency, and it has no impact to you because it's going to come off your taxes at the end. You don't pay it then, you pay it here.
I mean, it's only a benefit, right?
Everybody can become a philanthropist.
That's amazing. For Catholic schools. That's a way that families can really get involved in making Catholic school more accessible. It's clear that we have so many families who really see school as a family, as a community. Why do you think in this age of, public schools, charter schools, and there being so many different options, there's a lot of families homeschooling. Why do you think that these Catholic schools are so needed today, especially in Brooklyn and Queens?
It's a great question. And because you know me, you asked the question that starts with why. We have to ask the why question.
Yes.
What do Catholic schools do? The test scores, the individualized attention, the small classes, the large classes, the opportunity for high school placements. That's all the what. But the why is so important. And I think that families are realizing that they want a school that represents their values. They want a school that represents them. They want a school where they know their child will be loved and cared for the way that they want them to. And that's the service that I think Catholic schools have to the community. Why do they exist? I mean, we believe that God loves all children, and there's this big, beautiful, amazing plan for them. And in a Catholic school environment, we want to make sure that the child knows that, feels that, at an age-appropriate way. The idea that my life is not about what's in my feed, not about what's in my scroll, it's not about my clique, it's not about the friends. That's so important to a 13-year-old girl, to a 5-year-old boy. But we know as adults that life is so big and grand for them. So I like the phrase the foundation for life. That's why we exist. To give these kids the foundation and the values that are going to take them through all the twists and turns of their life. And we can't imagine that. Even moms and dads, you don't know what your child's life is going to develop at. God knows that. God has a plan for that. And the best we can do is help the child have an encounter with Jesus, to know that I have a friend in Jesus. Let me just ramble for one more minute. We live in a hyper-individualized world, right? Everything, and technology did this to us. You open your phone, everything from the image on your phone to where the icons are, to the ringtone, your browser. Do I want my tabs on the side or across the top? Everything. We're talking about Netflix, what's on your feed, Amazon. What you see on your first Amazon page is different than my Amazon page. Everything is hyper-focused, hyper-individualized. And for a child to know that it's not all about me, that there's this bigger world, a bigger plan, and that I'm part of a big clique of people who believe, people that have a relationship with Jesus. That right and wrong is important on a big picture, not just the arguments in a algorithm.
Of course, because that is the foundation. Yeah. And no matter what happens, wherever a child goes, whatever high school, whatever college, having that foundation is something that a parent can give your child through Catholic education. It's of course never guaranteed what's going to happen after they grow up and go to school and all those things. That starting off really strong makes a huge difference, and we see that with the kids that go to our schools.
Parents believe that. I believe all parents believe that. You know, if I teach the child how to discern right from wrong and how to make good decisions, I trust them when temptation happens. What we hope to be, I mean, the parent is the first educator of a child. That's where the homeschool movement is so strong. For families that can't do the homeschool movement and need a place, if they want that, you want that environment to represent the home.
Yeah. And you can see it. Some of our, like in a lot of our schools, the little ones are the ones that are praying the loudest and the strongest. And maybe sometimes the 7th and 8th graders are a little quieter. But the reality is, they know the prayers because they learned them when they were 3, 4, 5. And as they grow up, when they encounter difficulty or struggle, they know the prayers. They have a relationship with God, or they've been introduced to a relationship with God. That's life-changing.
And look at what we're seeing now. I mean, that makes sense, right? You know, the young kids are so cute, they're so adorable. They just love to show that they know the prayers, they know the words, and it means something to them. And then you get peer pressure, and do I look cool? And that's, we've all been through that. And then you look at this revitalization of young people, the Gen Z in the church. I mean, that news story is still out there, loud and proud. So those people remember that. What do they do in high school? What do they do in college? Okay, we don't know. But then they come back to church, and it's a familiar feeling. Right? The Gen Zers flooding into churches today, they report that it feels like home. It feels like a community.
So obviously, these schools provide a foundation for life. They provide these students, these children, with something to come back to as they grow up, as they get older, as they go on in life. But there is, there's so much more than just that, There is academic excellence, there's, safety, just receiving the sacraments, that kind of thing. Are there any particular things that you've noticed parents bringing up or being really drawn to that you think our Catholic schools assist with?
Well, I think parents today, and it's important for us to remember, for those of us that were born in the mid-1900s, it's important for us to realize that today's parents are millennials.
Yeah.
Today's parents are soon going to be the Gen Zers. And there's a consistency thread. And I think this goes whether you're a baby boomer, Gen Xer, Gen Z, for the dawn of time, I think every parent wants the best for their child. And they want to feel that their child is safe, loved, cared for, and receiving a good education. I mean, that's table stakes, as they say. I mean, that's a requirement. I think we do that very well in the schools. I talked about the hyper-individualism that goes into digital loneliness for kids. The kids that are in school right now, you've shared your story about your Zoom college classes.
Yeah.
COVID created a sense of digital loneliness, and that's going to linger out there. I think what Catholic schools do is it really creates that community. When you sit next to somebody in the pew and pray and do something as intimate as pray alongside somebody, you have a bond with those kids. There's schools with the alumni, there's Facebook groups where the Alumni Association goes back to the 60s. And those people still remember their elementary school classmates from the 1960s.
That's only, I think, a Catholic school thing is having class reunions for your elementary or middle school. You don't see that in any other type of school, only Catholic schools. You're having a reunion for the anniversary of your 5th grade graduation or 8th grade graduation. It's amazing. It's beautiful. And it speaks to that bond that forms when you receive the sacraments together or you learn the Hail Mary together, right? That creates a very deep bond.
Absolutely.
And you mentioned, obviously, this huge Gen Z revival and how they're about to be parents. Do you think that we'll see a lot of growth in Catholic schools because of that?
Yeah, great question. There's a lot of news right now about Catholic schools. There's a lot of news about birth rates and trends of people having children in this age. There was a great study that I just learned about. In the 1950s, they asked people, do you think you're an important person? In the 1950s. So we had, people coming back from World War II. And what do you think the answer would have been? And we don't know the content. Do you think you're an important person?
People were polled.
People were polled. Representative poll.
In the 50s.
Yeah.
I feel like most people probably, I feel like people were more humble then.
They're more
right?
humble. It was 12% thought they were an important person. And what a cool thing, because this is where you just came back from World War II, where so many thousands of soldiers died right next to you in these battles. I mean, horrible, and you were one of 12 kids in your family, right? How, that was just the Dust Bowl was a memory to your parents, your grandparents. Now, they redid the study in the 90s, and all of this is still old news, but in the 90s, guess what the number would be?
95%.
Yeah, 80, I think it was like 88%.
Oh
right?
my God.
That goes to the hyper.
We need to go to church.
Individualism. And I don't know how to feel about that, because are you an important person? I think everyone created in God's image. Everybody, the dignity for human life is important.
Yes. It's a little vague over
there.
Yeah.
It's a fun question. But, back to the point, or why do parents today think this is important? I think that Catholic schools, in that foundation, there's a little bit of humility. There's respect for dignity, for human life, respect for other people. We can disagree, but not be disagreeable. Those should be some of the tenets that we have as good people, as Christians, as Catholics, just as good people. Humankind, be both. It's one of my favorite t-shirts.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So, do you have any particular hopes for the future? Hopefully all these Gen Zers that are flooding into church are going to be filling the schools even more. But do you have any hopes particularly for the Diocese of Brooklyn, more broadly throughout the country with Catholic schools? Tell us your hopes and dreams.
So let's go back to the why question, right? The hopes of what happens in the school. Do I want all the schools to be filled, to have class sizes, where every seat is filled? Absolutely. But that's not just to fill a school. That's to give every one of those children the opportunity. I hold a special place for what I call the middle child. And this is not a birth order thing, but there's a lot of time and energy and resources on the overachievers. The child who's the class president, who's joining every club, who's excelling in all of their academics. And I think Catholic schools do that pretty well. I think we do it really well. Have room for that child to excel. I think there's a lot of resources and time on children that are struggling academically with different learning styles. I think we do that really well. Teachers in Catholic schools are trained, as you know, for differentiated learning and classroom rotations and stations and things called MTSS. I'm not an educator, but I'm exposed to these things, and it's a cool learning style to help that child who learns differently. I think we do that well. Throughout my career, I've always wanted to be there and serve for that middle, the group in the middle that could go either way, right? That could fall in with the wrong crowd, and that friend group has a negative influence, who could become a superstar and a class president, who could make decisions that choose where they go to high school, which determine where they go to college. So I hope that we can be there for that middle child. And that also means the parents, the family where both parents are working 2 jobs and researching what school, accessing the services for their child isn't an easy process for them. I hope that we can be there for that family, that middle child. That's my hope.
That's so touching. I haven't heard that. I have chills. That's beautiful. I think it's I think that really speaks to a truly Catholic, a truly universal perspective of Catholic education. It's not just for the valedictorian. It's not just for the child who's been hopping around to schools and Catholic schools say, come on in. Yeah. It's also for the students in the middle and the families in the middle.
Yeah.
We serve everyone. Yeah.
Inclusivity.
Yeah, 100%. Are you ready to jump into one of my favorite parts of the podcast?
Let's do it.
Everyone knows by this point. Rapid fire round.
I love the podcast. I listen intently to every segment and every episode, but when it gets to rapid fire, it's like turn up the volume.
There's something about, I don't know what it is. I'm not a psychologist. Maybe someone can analyze this and leave a comment. There's something about learning kind of like random, very personal facts about people. It's really intriguing. Are we just naturally nosy people? I don't know. But I was like, tell me, what is this? Like, I'm just always so curious. So
I love this segment on YouTube. I see it where a celebrity opens up their travel bag. This is what I use to get on a flight. You know, what headphones they use and what device they, it's like, that's so interesting.
I know. I'm like, I want to know what hand sanitizer Taylor Swift is using. I'm just super curious. It's like, is it the relatability? I don't know. Anyway, we'll jump into our rapid fire round. We'll start off with your favorite coffee spot in Brooklyn or Queens.
You know, a cup of coffee can be a spiritual experience. No doubt.
100%.
No doubt.
100%. Catholic imagination right there.
So we're here in Brooklyn today. We're in Prospect Park, and I have to give shout out to Poetica Coffee. And we both know it so well. We've talked about it. It's an espresso bar, right? So I'm not only going to tell you what it is. I'm going to tell you why. The why theme continues.
Incredible.
Poetica Espresso Bar. It's literally an espresso bar. You can't walk through there don't have a backpack on because you're going to block traffic, right? Little narrow. And the cappuccino is served in an appropriate size cup. It's not one of these 197 ounces with that light tan flavored milk. Now, look, if that's your jam, YDY, you do you, no doubt. But I think cappuccino needs to have an appropriate ratio of coffee to milk, served nice and hot, and just have your cappuccino in the morning. Don't have your cappuccino after lunch. If you know, you know. If you don't know, ask your Italian friends.
Duly noted as I sit here with my biggest coffee. No, but I will say, it feels controversial to say, but I really do think this might be the best vanilla iced oat milk latte in all of New York. Please prove me wrong. If someone thinks they have something better, let me know. I drink a lot of these. This is my summer drink of choice. I have yet to find anything better.
Without air conditioning, I grant you a large iced beverage if you have no ice conditioning. No shame in that. Everyone do you. No shame. Do whatever beverage you want. I'm not going to fight about coffee.
I learned today while they were making it, there's 3 shots of espresso in this. So now I know why I like it so much.
Yeah. You got a good ratio. You need the iced beverage. Yeah.
They do it very well.
Well done.
A saint inspiring you lately?
Lately is the tough question there. I think a saint that I like to think about and talk about is Philip the Apostle. Here's what I like about Philip. Now, my middle name is Philip. There's no way my parents knew this when they named me, that I would kind of share these traits with him, or maybe my name. There you go. What I like about Philip is his questioning. I think he asked why. He would have been an ask why kind of guy. Yeah. He questioned things in a very appropriate way. He wanted to know why. He wanted to know how. The feeding. But Lord, how are we going to do this? There's only bread and loaves. How are we going to feed all these people? He was into logistics a little bit. The second part I like about Philip is the simplicity of his invitation. All right? I think he was quoted with "come and see," and the phrase that we use very often. Come and see. I think in today's world, there's a come see. Or don't, that's up to you, But it's just a simple invitation. He meant it with sincerity. He wanted to bring people in. I like to come and see.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah. Amazing.
Thank you.
All right. A book, mentor, or a podcast that shapes your approach to leadership or mission?
Well, to surprise absolutely no one, I have to talk about Simon Sinek, right? Anybody who's talked to me for more than 10 minutes knows that I'm kind of a big fan. The Start With Why was a TED Talk. I'll give him that TED Talk, which is very popular. I think this is a good TED Talk if you follow. But I think Start With Why really shaped me professionally. Let's get down to the core. And that was before I joined the Catholic mission. That was when I was still serving students, but it was in different kinds of environments where you could easily get caught up in the what and the how. But starting with why was super important. I have to, early on, Tom Peters and I go way back. He's a different generational guy. His books are so easy to read. It's like bullet lists of things. So Tom Peters and I go way back too.
Okay, amazing. Yeah. Sounds like Tom Peters. And lastly, a quote that you try to live by.
quote that I try to, that's a big question. That's a big question.
All quote. Doesn't have to be all quotes that you try to live by.
I don't think I can give you one. I think we have to talk about a couple.
Okay, let's do it.
And, on a serious note, it might have been Simon Sinek interviewing a Navy SEAL. I think that's where I learned it from. But smooth is slow and slow is fast. Right? Navy SEALs are known for this. In life and death battlefield operations, go smooth, go slow. You make good decisions. You get it right the first time, and accomplish the mission efficiently. Haste makes waste is kind of tried and true. It's the same idea. Do it right the first time. Get it right. Be intentional in your actions and your words and things like that. Smooth is slow. Slow is fast. Get it done. Okay, yeah. But but let's have some fun too. I mean, there's a very wise poet, philosopher, songwriter, Jimmy Buffett, right? Now listen, Jimmy Buffett, it's summertime, it's getting hot outside. He's a poet, that's a good author too.
Yeah.
But I'm growing older but not up is a theme and a song. Just have fun. Have fun. It's a good reminder to have fun. I mean, just Jimmy Buffett's good beach. It's good beach and boat and fun music. But listen, there's some wisdom. There's some really cool wisdom in there. And then the one that I like just to laugh about, and we've all seen the movie, I think, 100 times, and I never heard this line until the 150th time I saw the movie Elf, right? Classic. Buddy the Elf, they separate Michael, and Michael goes to school, and at the end of the day, they're at that dinner, I think it's when they're at the dinner table, and Buddy, in all seriousness, says, so good news, I saw a dog today. If you see a dog today, you've had a really good day.
Yeah.
Extra credit if it's a fluffy dog. Fluff matters.
Absolutely. Extra points for a fluffy dog.
I saw a dog today. Good news.
Wow. That's just like a life perspective, right? Like that's a ultimate way to encapsulate glass half full.
Yeah.
And a very Catholic perspective at that. Incredible. What a way to wrap up our episode. Thank you so much, Ted, for being on Nazareth. I want to make sure everyone knows we will have information about our Catholic schools. So if you heard that, your child is not enrolled, and you're like, I want them part of this amazing family, we'll have information in our show notes. Come and see. And we'll also have information on the federal tax credit opportunity. If you do want to keep bugging Governor Hochul, we'll have information on how to do that. Just kind of encourage, right? This is something meaningful and important to us. And this has just been such a special episode.
It's special for me, and I just want to say high fives to you for getting Nazareth done, for making this happen. Going from 0 to something is really hard, and now we're in double-digit episodes, and you are crushing it as digital storyteller. Nice job, Sophia.
Wow! Shout out on the podcast. Thank you so much, Ted.
Thank you.
Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you soon. Amazing!